Welcome back. Boy George should be dead. At least that's what the papers have been saying over the last 9 months, ever since his arrest for heroin possession. Certainly he was down and out, very much so, personally and professionally. But like the karma chameleon he sings about, he seems to have changed his life around. So please welcome, in our London studio, Boy George. Boy George, thanks for talking to us. It's good to see as well that you're dressing down these days.
Oh, well, you know, there's not many people that are dressing up.
And the shots of the photos of the Queen, are they photographs or are they from the currency of the Crown?
No, they're actually real £5 notes and £10 notes. This is what you call real decadence.
So how much are you wearing there? You're wearing 20 or 30 quid at least, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm cheap.
We're getting mixed reports out here just about how well you are, whether you've recovered, how fit you are. Can we ask the horse himself, how are you?
First of all, I'm not a horse, I'm a man. And secondly, well, I think, you know, when you have a drugs problem, it takes a very long time to get over it. So if I was to sit here and say, yes, I'm perfectly well, I'd be telling a lie. I'm a lot happier than I was, say, 6 months ago. I feel a lot better. Obviously, you know, having a hit record and being back at work again has helped tremendously. I feel more positive than I did, say, last year.
I obviously don't want to put you through the gory details again, but I mean, how difficult has it been for you the last 6 months?
Well, you know, over Christmas, I spent a lot of time with my family, and they were very, very supportive, you know, and that's important. I think if I'm going to give any advice to parents, you know, I'll direct this advice at parents. If you have children that take drugs, you know, whether they're pop stars or unemployed, the most important thing that you can give them is support and love. You know, to reject them is the worst thing you can do. And, you know, the most wonderful thing for me is having the whole of my family who are still around me. In fact, my father is just down the corridor, keeping an eye on me. But it's a bit like being 14 again, but it's nice to have that support, and that's what you need.
I read again, obviously, the stories that have appeared out of the Fleet Street press about you would have question marks above them, but I read the other day a story that, in fact, your father these days frisks visitors when they come into the house just to make sure that no one is bringing drugs.
No, that's not true, no. I mean, for a start, it's my house, you know, and you see, the most important thing about somebody who wants to stop taking drugs is that it has to come from them. It can't come from anybody else. You can't beat it out of them. You can't force them. You know, the will to survive has to come from the individual. So, you know, that's not true at all. It's just another one of those Fleet Street stories. I mean, let me make this quite clear to you. I don't talk to Fleet Street. You know, on Christmas Day, which is a day where, you know, you're supposed to celebrate Christmas with your family, there was a reporter outside my house. And when my mother went outside and asked why I wasn't at home having his dinner, he said, well, George might die. You know, so my regard for Fleet Street is like out the window.
Are you under 24-hour care now, or are you in hospital? Are you staying at home? What is the treatment now?
I'm in the studio. No, you know, when I put out my record, Everything I Own, I was still pretty ill. But I needed to sort of get back to my work, you know. The only thing that really gives me pleasure is singing. And, you know, I love being an entertainer. But I'm not under medical care at the moment. You know, I have a doctor, and, you know, I go to relaxation classes. I'm learning, like, hypnotherapy, self-hypnotherapy. And I also practice Buddhism now.
Did you think that you were going to die? Did it get that serious?
Yeah, I did. Really. To be quite honest with you, yes, I did. The main thing that stopped me from taking drugs was losing my friend Mark. I lost a friend who I really loved a lot and still love because, as I just said, I practice Buddhism and we believe that people live forever. That's really the reason why I stopped. You know, I needed perhaps a good kick in the teeth, and that was as good as I could get, really.
Did you realise at the time that how desperate you were and how desperate the situation was as you were taking it?
I realised that I had a problem, but, you know, what happened to me was obviously being a famous person, in inverted commas, you know, Fleet Street, sort of like pounced on me, and it made the situation very difficult. It made it very hard for me to go to anybody for help. And unfortunately, with the newspapers, with the media in general, their intention really is just to sort of scandalise and to make the sort of problem into something that sells newspapers, rather than offering, constructive advice or criticism. They just want to sort of hang you publicly.
But to be fair and to be frank, I mean, obviously the newspapers had made you the celebrity you refer to.
I made me the celebrity I am.
Really?
Yeah, I did. You look around you, you look at this industry, how many people are there who are that interesting? Okay, I understand the media is responsible for a lot of what's happened to me, but if I was a boring, miserable person, I wouldn't be where I am. You remark on, the fact that I'm not dressing down. You look around you, there's not that many people in this business who have anything apart from good voices. And, a lot of them have got nothing to say, nothing to offer, to sort of young people. So I think, my charisma, without being egotistical, has helped me.
That's obviously one of the reasons, though, obviously with the charisma and the popularity and the great success of Culture Club, that is one of the reasons as well why the press decided that once they discovered that you were a drug addict, that made one heck of a good story, whether it offended you personally or not.
Well, I understand that totally. I don't blame them. I don't blame anybody. I blame myself. I mean, I've made it quite clear from the word go that I didn't consider myself a victim. I did a very irresponsible thing, and I've paid for that.
Have you had time to sort of sit back and be objective and say, this is where it went off the rails, this is where the fast lane was too fast, or is it too early yet to say that?
I can't give you an answer that would explain why I started taking drugs. I can only advise other people not to do it. I've learned by my mistakes, the only way to express the way I feel about the things that have happened to me would be to burst into tears, and I'm not about to do that.
You obviously move in a world where drugs and music, drugs and rock and roll go together. Is it going to be very difficult?
So do you. The world is full of drugs. The world is full of alcoholics. People drink beer. People smoke. We're all surrounded by it, and unfortunately for me, being who I am, I got caught up in it. And, I've had to pay the price. There are other people who are less fortunate than me out there who are drug addicts and they have no way out. And if anything, I'd like to lend my support to those people, and say to them, rather than sit here and talk about drugs, and the fact that I've taken drugs, I'd rather just use this time to say, if you are thinking of taking drugs, don't. I think that's the most positive thing I can say. I can sit and, wonder why I did it, but I don't know myself.
Yes, no.
So I'd rather say to anyone out there, anywhere in the world, not just Australia, that if you are thinking of taking drugs, it really isn't worth it.
All right, seems a good spot to stop there. Let's just pause for a moment. We'll take a break and we'll come back with this exclusive interview with Boy George from London.